in my science fiction novel about clones. It is set on a space station, but there's more than that, right? The space stations are interesting beasts. And so you just can't say, well, it's just on a space station, because this space station is huge, okay? Enough for millions of people to live on. When it was originally designed, it was designed for 6 million people to live in comfortably. However, things never stay the same. The space station now is quite old. People have added to it, and now there are way more than just 6 million people living in it. We're talking a population the size of Los Angeles, maybe 12, 13 million people living in or around the different rings of the space station. It is massive. And some people live in poverty, some people live in squalor. But the thing about it is, it's still basically a series of rings. Okay, so it's like not just one gigantic ring, but a bunch of rings going around. And they all orbit around a center that is empty. So it's like a long tube in a way. And the purpose of the rotation, okay, is so that it can do artificial gravity and it can do simulated gravity. Anyway, don't want to get into that detail. But in the space station itself, there are 4 basic locations that my characters will go to. Okay, there is the docking bay where they start at. And that docking bay is a privately owned docking bay. And then they moved to a public docking location. At the bulk of the first half of the novel actually happens in the second docking bay, the public docking bay. And this is where they interact with the city at large. And one of the places they go to quite often to get things is the promenade. And I know in science fiction you hear the term promenade all the time, but it works because it's basically where all the shopping happens, all the commerce happens, and it's mostly foot traffic. But there are things that are automated, and sometimes people do move around in, the space station. But vehicles aren't really a thing for most people, and it just happens because of size. Even though it's a very large space station, it's still cramped, and so there's a lot of foot traffic that happens.